Hey everyone, it's Ron and Maria. We are on location here in St. Augustine, Florida at the Summit.
Yep, we're here at the Great American Real Estate Summit. Got a lot of excited people here. And we just watched Gene Simmons on stage yesterday. The crowd loved him. Everybody got our picture taken with him, including me. In fact, he and I did a long tongue contest, which you'll see up on our website. He beat the crap out of me. I've never seen a man with a tongue that long, but his is long. And anyway, we got a lot of things going on here. We got people up on the stage right now. I'm taking a break because I'm not doing a class that I'm one of the many that I'm teaching here. So I thought we'd take time to answer your questions. So let's hope they're good ones this week. Are they, Maria?
I think so.
All right.
All right, so our first question is from Tim in Florida.
Hey, Tim.
I've read on multiple attorney sites that since the tenant buyer put down a sizable option deposit on a lease purchase, the courts could find that they have an equitable interest in the property, and therefore the lease payment could be viewed as a mortgage. In this case, an eviction would not be applicable, and we would have to start the foreclosure process.
That's possible, and the magic number is usually 20%. Anytime a tenant buyer gives you more than 20% down, if they choose to fight you on it, they could force you to foreclose on them.
If this were to happen, are we responsible for the payment during the process if we sandwich
Absolutely.
leased?
If you bought the house, or even if you haven't, and you agreed to make that monthly payment and you have to foreclose, you're responsible for making a payment while you're doing it. That's why you don't take all the money you get out of the front end and spend it. You set some aside for things that might happen like that. Now the truth is, I haven't foreclosed on anybody since I can remember, because we can always deal them out. If somebody's not going to pay, they know they're not going to stay. So I'd rather deal them out. I'd rather give them a little bit of money and let them move than to fight them, and certainly rather than foreclosing on them. Now I can't say that's always going to be the case, but you better be prepared in case they don't want to deal. So set some money aside. If you have to make the payments, you have to make the payments. I see Alton Jones just walked in.
Yes.
Alton
Hey, Ron.
Jones. Here, you want to sit down and help me?
Sure.
Okay. Have you got anything important to say?
Oh, this is a great summit here.
Hey, by the way, did you notice how pretty I am today?
He's got
See,
a pretty tie.
I only dress up like this for the summit. I don't do this for just anybody.
And Valentine's Day was yesterday.
That's right. Okay.
All right, so our next question is from Phil in Ohio.
Phil.
Hi, Phil.
I've heard some investors recommend dropping in unannounced on the applicant's residence to see how they take care of the property they're living in. Do you also speak to previous landlords when qualifying a tenant buyer?
Oh, man. Phil, you must be a thinker brain. You must be a thinker brain.
Has to be.
Yeah, okay. I have never dropped in on a tenant in my entire life to see if they're keeping the house in shape. We quickly learn when they move. And I just never do any of that stupid stuff, frankly. When I hand them the keys, I forget about them until they hand me the keys back when they've moved or bought, one of the two. If you concern yourself with all this stuff that people conjure up and all these things that people think you have to do to be a real estate investor, it's going to drive you bat crazy. Look, when I don't put somebody in a house unless I get thousands of dollars from them, and I'm talking about $10,000 and up on a non-refundable option deposit. When people give me thousands of dollars to move into my house, they don't act up. And if they do, they move. If they move, they move. I go out and do it again and get another $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000. So I just don't worry about them. I've had people in houses over 10 years and I don't even know their names and I can't even remember what the house looked like. I'm certainly not going to go personally visit a house. That's a good way to get a bullet in the head right there. You just don't know what's behind those doors today. So stay away from the houses until they move. Worst case, you have to fix it, or better yet, rent to own it on a work for equity as is. Stop worrying about it.
Set it and forget it.
Right.
Our next question is from Dante in Texas.
Dante?
Are there any private lenders out there in which you don't have to pay a closing cost?
There are. Closing costs have nothing to do with private lenders, Dante. Might want to suggest you invest a little bit of money and get into my 4-day quick start school, sir. Closing costs are charged by the state, not by a private lender. Private lender puts up money, none of the costs are his or hers. The costs are all recording costs and whatever that costs for you. And by the way, Texas, you got almost no closing costs, so what are you worried about that for? Almost none in Texas. So, all right, that's enough on that. I don't want to beat him up too bad. Get the quick start, man. Learn the ropes.
So next is Helen in Wisconsin.
Helen?
A portion of the county we are investing in does not issue fee simple titles. Instead, residents are assigned leasehold interests. When purchasing a property, a deed is not recorded. Instead, ownership is transferred by assignment of the lease, which is recorded. How is the land trust different if we assign the leasehold interest to the trust?
Well, if there's a leasehold interest, there is no land trust because there's no land to put in the trust. Only when you take title do you use a land trust. Now, the rest of that question you're going to have to discuss with your attorney because that is a very unique and unusual situation there if what you're telling me is true. So your attorney, your real estate closing attorney will guide you on anything else having to do with those kind of transactions. By the way, you guys know who this is? This guy's famous. He's from Southern California. This is an ex-cop. Got tired of getting shot at.
Yep.
Decided he wanted to do real estate. Came on Planet Ron. Next thing you know, he's teaching. So he's got his own boot camp now on rehab, especially out there in Southern California. Makes a ton of money out there in those high dollar houses.
Yeah, well, I want to get you into some of those too.
You gonna get me in some of them?
Yep, I think I got a couple of deals for you out there.
Okay. Well, okay, we'll see. All right. Next question.
So our last question is from Roger, not sure where he's from. I have someone that maybe I can work with. Seems to be a motivated seller. I went to the property. We had a meeting of the minds. What do I do now? Do I just have them sign the purchase and sale agreement, then say my attorney will call them to set up the closing and okay the rest of the paperwork?
Yes, if you have a meeting of the minds, next thing you do is get a contract, and yes, the next thing you do is say, well, I'll get it to my attorney, and he'll be setting up the closing and let you know you had it right. That's what you do, Raj.
And you're in the Go Club, so you'll be able to download the sales purchase agreement contract for the on Go Club, and that way you are already set.
That's what you do.
And that's all the questions we have.
Okay, well then that's all the answers we have, right?
I'm good.
Okay. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Look, it's getting late in the year already. You better get out there and get some deals done. And don't forget to send your questions in. Everybody watching, send your questions in, and I'll answer them right in front of this camera every single week, regardless of where I am in the world. And it's up to you to make sure that I stay busy, because I hate sitting idle. See you next week.